Hey, what's going on YouTube? Let's get this weekend started. On a couple more of the Ken Marys. I'll probably grab around 10 of those before I stop. Grabbed a few of these, but I'm not going to crack that in this video because I have a couple sets on the way, and I'll do that in another video. What I do want to look at in this video is some cars that I think most of these, if not all of them, have been seen, but there are a few that are relatively new that I didn't spend a lot of time on. So this is a Toyota Land Cruiser. These are some of my favorite cars to collect. I don't have very many of them. I have 17 of them in my collection to be exact. But at $25 a car, it's not easy to binge buy. Anyways, the two 4x4s that I have is that Land Cruiser, and then I've got this Nissan Safari, which is an awesome truck. This was never commercially available here in the United States. I don't think that Land Cruiser was either. But this thing is awesome. These things are still on the road in parts of the Middle East, I think. And I think maybe even Australia has these on the road still. It is a bigger truck than the Pathfinder, but not quite as big as a Suburban, so somewhere in between. It's a good size casting though. These are true 1/64 scale, and they are extremely detailed. Probably from a detailing and fit and finish standpoint, these are probably the most detailed and most accurate die-cast cars in 1/64 scale. And I don't really even think there's a close second, except maybe Kyosho. Kyosho does seem to do probably a more popular variety of cars. This one here is a beautiful car. This is a Toyota Century. It's actually quite stunning, I think, when you look at the detail on this thing. All of these cars are metal body, metal base, prototypical wheels, rubber tires, sprung suspension, transparent lens headlights and taillights. There are very few of them have painted taillights, but the vast majority of them are transparent lensed headlights and taillights. And all of them are prototypical wheels. I think there are a select few that have plastic base too, but for the most part they are metal body, metal base. And they're very stout. They're built very well, just very solid. There's that metal base. Just to give you guys an example, this one here slipped out of my hand one night, fell about 3 feet, and landed smack on a tile floor. And there's not even so much as a chip on it. Most of these were not available commercially here in the US. The Land Cruiser I don't think was, the Safari I know wasn't, and the Toyota Century was not. This is a Nissan Prairie. Now this car was commercially available in the US, but it was under a different name. It wasn't a Nissan Prairie, it was a Nissan Stanza wagon. My very first car was a Nissan Stanza, but it was not a wagon. It was a 1990 Nissan Stanza 4-door. It was a light blue, really cool little car. But this wagon is just awesome. I love it. When I was growing up, my parents, before we got into minivans, when us kids started getting bigger and taking up more space, we had I think it was a 1988. It was either an 88 or an 89, and it was a Colt Vista. And interesting little car, but that's what this reminds me of. They have similar body styles. Little Colt Vista 4-wheel drive that we had. And then after that, my parents graduated to the minivans. And I swore that I would never own a minivan. And now here I am, creeping on 40 years old. And I wouldn't rule it out. Although I do prefer the SUV to the minivan. I prefer the 4-wheel drive. Alright, let's work our way down here. This one here is a Toyota Corona Mark II 1900. I love this car. The only reason I bought this car, I was buying a few things from Japan Booster, and to get myself over 50 for the free shipping, the way it broke down was that if I added another Tomica Limited Vintage for $20 or $25, I would end up paying around $10 for it with what I would save on the shipping. So this is the car that I chose, and it ended up being my favorite car out of those 3 or 4 cars that I bought, because it just looks so much better in person than it does in the pictures. I'll show you one of the other cars that I got with it next. So I don't buy a lot of Tomica Limited Vintage because of the price, but when I do, I'll usually buy a few of them at a time. And most of these I did get from the Toy Pimp. He's a really good source for these cars, but there are a few of these that I bought either from Japan Booster or other online sellers. So there's your Toyota Corona Mark II 1900. Here is a Toyota Carina. This is one of the newer ones that I have. This is an older Tomica Limited Vintage release. A little bit harder to find this car with this color. And I think because of that, it does run a little bit more than the $25 average. Awesome little car, though. I just love these cars. The scale accuracy, the replication accuracy is the best in the hobby. It's just, it can't be said enough. But, you know, for what you pay, it should be. And that's why they get what they get for these cars, because they are the best, and people that collect these know that, so they're willing to pay it. Which, you know, I don't know. Anybody that collects Hot Wheels can afford to collect these. You know, you're not going to have as many cars in your collection, but you're going to have, you know, it's up to you. Do you want quality or quantity? So I try to find a good balance of both. But if you can buy one of these every 2 months, that's 6 a year. It wouldn't take you too long to start building up a decent little collection of these cars. But anyways, back what I was saying with this Corona, the other car that I bought with this is this This is one of the few TLVs with a plastic base. It's a Prince Gloria. I just thought this thing looked awesome, so I picked it up, and then I got the Corona to get me over the free shipping, and then when they arrived and I got them both out of the package, I thought the Corona looked better. This is a sweet looking little car though. So Prince, this is the company that started the Skyline. Nissan kind of acquired it when they acquired Prince, but they kept the Skyline going. They actually kept the Gloria going as well. The Gloria, I'm not sure what other models came from Prince, but the real popular models that Nissan made was the Gloria, the Cedric, the Skyline, and then a little bit later on, the Z cars. And there's some interesting history with all that too, as to why Nissan ended up buying Prince. It was just right after the war, and I think there were some concerns with the American auto manufacturers kind of monopolizing the industry. And so in order for some of the Japan manufacturers to make it through that, their government, I don't know if they mandated it or if they incentivized it, but they basically had all the Japanese car companies merge together to form larger companies that could compete with Ford and Chevy and Dodge and all the American brands. And that's why Prince was absorbed by Nissan. That's why Hinu was absorbed by Toyota. And there were a whole bunch of others. I don't know all the details behind it, but it's something to that effect. And so it's just, one of the interesting little factoids regarding automotive history. But this is a cool car. Honestly, I think this car looks much nicer than the Prince Skyline. That's my opinion. Now, when Nissan took over the Skyline, I really like everything from the Kenmeri forward. I don't dislike the Prince Skylines. I just like the Nissan Skylines better. Here's a really nice 280Z, or actually, is this a 280 or a 260? I don't know. It's either a 280 or a 260. Might be a 260 actually. There is no diecast company that does a nicer Nissan Z, especially the 240, by the way. Because as nice as the M2 is, they didn't get the stance right. And, man, TLV killed it. I need to get a TLV 240 Fair Lady because it's an awesome casting. But this one is pretty nice too, though. I mean, the stance is perfect. The proportions are perfect. And the idea with these cars is if you put them on a realistic enough layout and take pictures of it, is that it'll look like real pictures, real cars. So they are highly detailed and they are extremely accurate. This is one of those cars where there's just no bad angle. Alright, let's take a look at some of the Skylines. Now, I think Kyosho in general makes nicer Skylines. And I don't have a lot of TLV Skylines anyways, but I do have a few. And I do like the TLV. So this first one here is a 2000 GT. It's the QC10 Skyline. It's basically the Skyline that just showed up in the Hot Wheels car culture cargo carriers. Except this is the sedan version. That's the wagon version. And actually, I think it was actually that wagon was referred to as a van, if I remember correctly. Their station wagons were called vans. But I love the lines on this car. This is just an excellent example of a Hakosuka Skyline. Matchbox did this car as a two-door. They did a great job with it. Actually, I think they did as good a job as you can do, really, for a dollar car. But this is a really nice example of this car. And this has been put out in quite a few colors now. But for some reason, I really like this light blue, purplish color. It's just a great color for the car. So that's your Hako. They do not do a Ken Mary, unfortunately. If they ever do, I will buy it. Here is this is a Japan Skyline. This is the C210. So this car also just made an appearance in the car culture. Both Skylines are new toolings for Hot Wheels. Although the Hakosuka came out as a wagon and the C210 came out as a two-door. This here, as you can see, is a four-door. And that would be the purple car from Japan Historics 2. Same car as this. But with the Tomica Limited Vintage, you're getting a stock car. With the Hot Wheels, you're getting a customized car that's lowered, fender flares, aftermarket wheels, all that kind of stuff. With these, they pretty much stick to stock with a few exceptions. But I love this one. This is probably my favorite Tomica Limited Vintage Skyline. But it's so hard to say because they really have some nice ones. The next one that I'm going to show is most people that watch these videos are going to like the next one the most. But there's something about this one and the Hako. And there are two little holes here up in the front for the fender mount mirrors. I should put those in there. Or maybe they're not little holes. Maybe they're just details for hood clips or something. I don't know. And again, here you do have prototypical OEM wheels, which doing cars this size, it can be hard getting the detail, but I think for the most part they do a pretty good job, especially on this car here, which this is going to be probably the favorite. And I really do like this one a lot too. This is a Nissan Skyline GTR. This is a R33. But it's an R33 four-door. They also do an R34. A four-door R34, but that one I like it. I just don't like it as much. I like this one better because all the edges on this are rounded off. The R34 is a little bit more squared off. Both are really nice, but it's just personal preference. And this one does have side view mirrors, so you got to be careful with that. Transparent lens headlights and taillights. These wheels are amazing. It's amazing that they got that detail, that they got those cast, really. It's probably not easy casting these wheels in this size. Greenlight just did it, though, with the Ford GT. There's your lens taillights. So those are the 3 Skyline castings that I've got from TLV. Really nice suspension. You can see how awesome this car would look lowered. And you can do that with any of these too. Like here's the Hako. Well, this one doesn't quite have as much suspension. And here's the Japan. This one looks good. Slammed. Anyways, those are the Skylines. Here's a Nissan 200SX, I think. Also known as a Sylvia or a Giselle. This is a really new tooling from Tomica Limited Vintage. I'm pretty sure it just came out within the last 6 months or so. Man, this is so uneven, this road. Try and fix that here. This is a really cool little car here, though. Also came out in red. I like the blue and silver, though. This one was a little bit more than the red one because it came out as one of those commemorative cars. Or maybe it was a movie car or a television show car. But those ones come in a little bit bigger box and they do cost a little bit more. The Land Cruiser that I have came that way. The Toyota Century came that way. And I also have another one here that I'll probably show next that came that way. So really cool little Nissan. Yeah, here, this one also came that way. This is based off of an actual race car. This is actually a really popular car in Japan automotive history. Hot Wheels has done a version of this car with this livery. M2 has done it. Dido has done it. Tomica Limited Vintage has done it. It's been done by a lot of different diecast companies, but of course nobody has done it as well as Tomica Limited Vintage. And they are bringing out another one of these that's going to have, I think, chrome wheels. So I'll have to grab that one too. That is an awesome little car, though. The M2 looks really, really good until you look at it side by side with this one. It still looks good, but not as good. And that's okay because that's a $6 car if you can find it. It's actually probably closer to a $12 car. So it's about half the price of this. Actually, it's a lot less. This car is about a $60 car now. When it came out, it was around $30. So in the 5 or 6 months it's been out, it's already doubled in value. But it is an awesome little car. And this car was the winner of that race. I want to see them do the 240Z with this livery. I'd have to get that one as well. So that's a really cool little car. So that's it for the Nissans. We'll take a look at a couple of Toyotas. A couple more Toyotas. I know we've already looked at a couple. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one here because I just showed it not that long ago. And this is the Toyota Crown Custom station wagon. I love this car. I love this color. It came out in this color and a silver, but I had to get the green. It's a period correct color for the era. And if you're a station wagon collector, this thing displays really, really nice with the Auto World wagons and some of the Johnny Lightning wagons. Really cool car here. And the last Toyota will be this. I don't know what year this is, but it's an A60 Toyota Celica. I do collect premium detailed Toyotas. There aren't a whole lot of them out there. The Kyoshos are hard to find. Tomica makes quite a few. Konami makes quite a few. Those are kind of hard to find as well. That little Toyota Starlet from Konami is about a $100 car. But this is awesome. This car's been out in quite a few colors. The one I would like to have is the tannish colored one. It's like a gray or tan type of a color. I just like the wheels on that one better. But really cool Toyota Celica. And then the last couple of cars we'll look at are both Hondas. I don't know what year this is, but I think it's a 1985. Might be an 84. It's just a Honda Prelude. So they've done the SI as well, but I want to see like a 1990 Honda Prelude SI. The body style after this, which is real similar. It's a real similar body style. I'd also like to see like a 92 or a 93 Honda Prelude, which is the more rounded. But this is a really cool car. I really dig this one. I like the red. I had the white one too. When I downsized, I forced myself to pick one, and I picked the red. It just looks really good. It looks like just a base model Honda Prelude, although it does have a sunroof. Take one more look here at the tail end detail. Transparent lensed tail lights. And then the last car, probably the nicest looking out of this entire collection, although you could make the case for a couple of them. This one would probably win, though. This car is unbelievably nice. And it's an EK9 Honda Civic Type R. I don't know what year this is, but I think it's like a 97. The detail on this thing is just incredible. You will not find a nicer Honda Civic in this scale. I've got a second gen, or maybe a third gen Honda Civic from Kyosho. And it's not as, I mean, we all know how nice Kyoshos are. It's not even on the same planet as this car. Tomica Limited Vintage, they do really, really nice stuff. And then every now and then, they just do like absolutely amazing stuff. And this is an example of that, where it's just head and shoulders above the average car that they put out. Everything about this car is so on point. And congratulations to the winner of my 3,500 subscriber giveaway, because you're getting not the white one. But it's the same car, same tooling, but you're going to get the gray one. Has the same white wheels, but the car is gray. Just an amazing car. So for me, for my money, personally, I like the old Skylines here. The Japan and the Hako. I know a lot of people are going to prefer that R33, and that's fine. It's a nice car. Sorry, I'm trying to arrange these for just the final once over. You can, if you're done watching, you can stop. All right. Anyways, Toyota Century. Nissan Safari. Nissan Prairie. Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota Carina, Toyota Corona, Prince Gloria, Toyota Celica, Honda Prelude, Nissan Silvia, Datsun 510 Bluebird, Nissan Fairlady, Fairlady Z, I should say. Toyota Crown, Honda Civic, R33 Skyline, C10 Hakosuka, and a C210 Japan. So there you go, Tomica Limited Vintage. If you guys are interested in any of these cars or this brand in general, go to Instagram and contact the Toy Pimp. He has most of these in stock, ready to ship, and he's local here in Arizona, so you don't have to wait 3 weeks for it to cross the pond. And he's pretty fair with his prices. In fact, a lot of the stuff that he sells is below market value. Like this Toyota Carina, he sold it to me for, it's like 20 or either 20 or 25, but being an older release, I think it's about a $40 car. If you look at the date on the bottom, all of these cars have dates. This one is 2008, so that's an older release, whereas the Honda Civic is 2017, and that's not a copyright date, that's the release date on these cars. That's the date or it's the year that particular model came out. 2016 on this Hako. Yeah, the further back you go, the harder they're going to be to find, and the more valuable they're going to be. The Porsches are ridiculous. The BMWs are getting up there. The Mercedes are up there. You can't even find the Mercedes. Everybody that has them doesn't want to sell them. And they didn't do a lot of German stuff, so I would say probably 90% of what Tomica Limited Vintage does is Japan auto. So there you go. Thanks for watching. You all have a great weekend. I'm going to get my trade video uploaded as well from Lloyd Price Jr. So stay tuned for that. There's some really cool cars in that trade. So take care.